Yo, what up Goon Squad, it's your boy FrankieFresh. In this video, we will be going over a handful of Season 3 updates, mainly focusing on Rune Word changes. Remember, if you're enjoying this style of content, make sure you like this video so YouTube knows to recommend you more of it. Also, over 80% of you are still not subscribed to this YouTube channel. So if you'd like to stay up to date with all the latest content and you don't want to miss any of my videos, make sure to subscribe so these videos show right up into your feed, and you can always change your mind later. Season 3 Domination will be releasing Friday, July 23rd at 10 AM PST. I'm sure there will be quite a few creators playing the closed beta, including me, which starts the 13th through the 20th. And everyone else will be able to dip their toes in it for a day on the 20th through the 21st. I'll be putting timestamps below for each rune word change that I'll be going over because there's quite a few of them. Let's start off with two rune words that most of you have already seen. Doom. If you missed it, you can now make Doom and staffs with a 50% FCR base. Doom gives an additional 30% FCR instead of prevent monster heal when you make it into a staff for a total of 80% if you use an elite base. The negative cold resistance has been reduced, however, from 40 to 60 to 30 to 50. Infinity can also be made into staffs now and gives you an extra 35% FCR if you use in a staff, for a total of 85% if you use an elite base. It also gives Cyclone armor, which is now an O skill. Creating Spirit in a staff gives you +2 all skills instead of the +1 from one-handed swords. Insight has been buffed and now gives 20 to 30 to all attributes instead of the current 5. Making Spirit and a Monarch shield now gives negative 15% requirements instead of the current negative 25. But in Season 3, you are now going to have other alternatives. They buffed the block rate and defense on Ward and Aegis. Aegis is now 38% and Ward is now 30%. This also applies to rares and unique, so it will be interesting what these changes do to the shield metagame. LastWish has had a huge buff. The ED roll has been increased from 300 to 375 to 450 to 500. They also buffed the on-hit effect. It now has a 60% chance to cast a level 40 charge bolt instead of the current 20% chance to cast a level 20 charge bolt. Silence has been buffed. It now rolls 300 to 400 ED instead of the current 200 ED flat, and now has a level 15 to 16 Thorns aura. This can stack with Bramble, so tuck in your Dragon's gear for Season 3 and bring out that Silence Bramble Thorns combo. Faith has been increased to 250 to 300 ED and now has 8% reanimate from the current 4%. Voice of Reason. The ED to Undead has been reduced from 355 to 375 to 255 to 375, but you can now make it in bows. It's a beginner ice bow that's extremely cheap, so it's not meant to be super strong. It's a solid choice for the first few days if you find a Lem and a Ko rune. Steel can now be made in claws, so playing an MA Sin at lower levels could be something useful now. Lawbringer can now also be made into claws and now rolls with amplified damage instead of decrepify. It's basically a stat stick because it doesn't have that much physical damage. Pattern now rolls 80 to 120 ED instead of the 40-80. It's a very nice early ladder weapon. CrescentMoon has been changed. The pierce has been reduced from negative 35% to negative 5 to 15. But the 7% chance to cast a level 13 static has been increased to 12%. Making CrescentMoon into two-hander has twice the chance to proc static field. It's a strong early ladder merc weapon if you happen to have an Rune laying around. Wrath has been increased from 30% to 60% chance to cast a level 18 amp damage. I thought I'd show Famine, which may be a popular rune word for Vengeance players. I'm curious to see how this affects the value of Jaw in Season 3. Creating Phoenix in a weapon now gains an additional 100% ED compared to the shield. The Fireball proc has been changed from 10% to 20% on the shield and weapon. The Redemption aura has also been buffed. It now gives +2 life per additional level. Eternity has been buffed. It now allows you to summon 6 additional revives instead of 3. You could use this on a Necromancer for 6 additional revives. You could also dual wield these on a Barb for 12 revives. Lesser Fate on Treachery was overriding Fate and Burst of Speed, so it has been removed and they are working on a replacement proc. Lesser Fate has now been added to the rune word Peace, and the Valk proc has been removed and replaced with +1 additional Valk. Bone has been buffed from 15% chance to cast a level 10 Bone Spear to 30% chance to cast a level 25 Bone Spear, and now has a 10% chance to cast Bone Armor from the current 5%. Brand has been buffed from 30% amp when struck to 65% chance when struck. This would be strong on a shapeshift build and would be a solid switch. Heart of the Oak can now be made into a staff, and Oak Sage charges have been brought back. I'm not exactly sure if I'm interested in this change. You lose your shield slot, but if you find a nice +3 Frozen Orb staff, for example, having a +6 HOTO staff with 80 FCR sounds pretty nice. Wind has been changed back to Sir L, and the ED has been buffed to 420 to 480 ED from 320 to 380. This can be used in any weapon. Memory now rolls 20 to 40% increased maximum mana from 20%. Early Ladder Staff for Sork for just a Lum rune. I think so. Prudence now rolls 30% FCR instead of the current 20%. Enlightenment now rolls 20% FCR instead of the current 10%. It's a solid armor on day 1 for a Sork if you find a pull. I made this armor in the beginning of Season 2. Unfortunately, it rolled +1 to all skills. Principle has been changed from 100% chance to cast a level 5 Holy Bolt to a 75% chance to cast a level 25 Holy Bolt. Depending on how strong this armor is in the beta testing, the pull rune may be removed and replaced with the goal rune. Exile has been buffed from 50% chance to cast a level 15 amp on striking to 25% chance to cast a level 18 amp. Splendor has had a minor buff. It can now roll 20 to 30% magic fine. Dream has been buffed from 5 to 20 all res to 10 to 20 all res, and the MF has been increased from 10 to 25 to 15 to 30%. Bramble life per kill has been reduced from 13 to 5 to 10. Stealth, FHR, and FCR has been increased from 10% to 20%. Smoke all res has been increased from 30 to 45 all res to 30 to 50. Wealth mana per kill increased to 2 to 4. Enigma has been buffed to 5 charges from 3. It now has 3 to 5 life per kill, and it now replenishes a charge every 3 seconds instead of every 6. Leaf will now roll with a guaranteed +3 to fire skills, and will also have at least 10 FCR depending on what base you put it in. Elite-based NecroShields can now receive up to 3 sockets, so you can now use the Rune Words Ancient's Pledge and Sanctuary. So if you upgrade Homunculus before corrupting it, you now have the possibility of 3 sockets. The Arcane Sanctuary pathing has been doubled, so I can no longer play What's the Password while we are searching for the summoner. You now need to stand by the Blood Fountain in Act 5 to open up the Dclone portal, so if you're killing him as a group, your party will need to be standing with you. Dclone now has a 1 to 2 second delay grace period when you start the fight. When you combine your organs, you now get a talisman. When you use it, it no longer makes a portal. Instead, you and whoever you are standing with at the Blood Fountain will get ported into UberTrist. There is no way to pour out until you kill all of the bosses. No more leaving to heal, and you can no longer spawn it on players 1 and then gather as a party of 8 to kill it. Organs now have a 1 in 4 drop chance instead of the 1 in 3, but keys now have a 100% drop rate, and you can now tally in the areas. Here's a little sneak peek on what you can expect from the new Dclone fight. He now spawns Skelly, so it will be harder to cheese. LargeCharms can now roll 1 to 3% LE damage, magic damage, or poison damage as a prefix. Using skillers on your character gives you around 5%, so 2 LargeCharms can get you 6% but take up an extra slot. But you can always find some juicy 3% 35 lifers or 8 all res. You will no longer be able to corrupt attackers take damage on gear because it's currently overtuned. Senpai may leave the corruption on a few item slots as of right now, but it's not official. The synergies for Thorns will most likely be Defiance and Might. Defiance gives you PDR, and Thorns doesn't proc against caster mobs, so you will need to switch to Might when fighting caster mobs and switch back for everything else. While I was watching a little demo on this, the setup looks interesting, and I'm tempted to test it out in Season 3. Necro's curses now scale with soft points. Lower resist and amp damage now give 1% and cap at 60%. Confuse attack speed went up to 10% from 3% per level, and Decrepify now caps at 65%. Act 3 mercenaries are in the process of being changed. This is not 100% yet, but currently Fire Mercs are using Fireball and Combustion on a cooldown. Lightning Mercs use Static and Nova, with Static being on cooldown every 2 seconds. And Cold Mercs use Ice Blast and Frost Nova. They are planning on introducing a new mastery for Act 3 mercenaries to scale their damage higher. It's basically like Fire, Cold, and Lightning mastery but for mercenaries that you can now scale even further with plus skills. The mastery also gives a small amount of life per kill. The goal here is to make the Act 3 mercs the highest damage dealing mercenaries in the game. The map I just walked through is called Fall of Chaldeum, and it's a brand new tier 3 map that was made by a community member named Erlen. Most of the assets in this map is custom artwork that doesn't exist in PD2. It's so beautiful, and if I could hang it on my wall, I would. Hopefully the map isn't full of witches, dolls, and souls. I know Diablo in general has been getting a lot of attention lately with the upcoming Diablo 2 Resurrected and quarterly Diablo 4 updates. Of course, I'm excited for both of these releases, but if you haven't tried out Project Diablo 2 yet, you are missing out. The mod does a brilliant job of bringing back the Diablo 2 LOD experience without making it feel like a brand new game. This PD2 community by far is the best gaming community that I've ever been a part of. The mod has reignited my love for the game, and I've met so many players that I consider family. If you have been sitting on the sidelines thinking about playing, I promise you that it will be the best Diablo 2 experience that you have had, and I hope to see you on the 23rd. I'll see you all soon, and until next time, peace.